why don't we dive in and talk about our top three cybersecurity priorities for 2025? First one, of course, is AI.
I mean, obviously, we have to talk about AI.
We have to talk about
Yeah.
AI. So I don't know about you, Matt, but when I think about AI, the first, well, what do you think of?
I mean, when I think about AI, oftentimes I'm now thinking anyway about what's going on with like my phone or my BYOD stuff, my mobile
Oh,
devices.
so amazing.
AI everywhere. I'm sorry, but this is what's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I immediately think of BYOD. And I don't know if most people are, but to me that really symbolizes how AI is everywhere. And right now we're going through people's cybersecurity programs, updating them to include AI. You might be doing vetting on a particular piece of AI related software that you want to use. And yet at the same time, there's this wide open door where people are using their own devices for work and they might have Gemini. They might have Apple Intelligence. They might be using ChatGPT on their personal systems. You don't know. And so as a result, there's this big wide open hole in your security programs.
Yeah, yeah.
So if you look, you will see a handout. We're about to toss a handout in, and it is called AI Essentials, how we're going to adapt to AI risks in the coming year. So number one on this is to do an AI risk assessment and inventory your AI assets, not just the ones that are really obvious, like we're using Microsoft Copilot, but also where else might AI have sneaked in? Are your vendors using AI? Have they integrated it into their products? Are individuals using
Yeah.
AI on their own devices? I don't know about you. I think those are things we really need to be thinking about.
No, I completely agree with you. Like, just as we were putting this handout together, I was noticing that as we were typing things out, I had a Microsoft Word window open with Copilot running, and I had an Adobe Acrobat window open that had Adobe's AI assistant, and I have Gemini running on my phone, and we have Apple Intelligence going all at
Now
the
we
same
know how to
time. Like,
target you, Matt.
yeah, exactly. Like, no, AI is everywhere, and if we're not careful about it, then we will inevitably run into situations where we're using AI either unintentionally or we're accidentally leaking data because we're not sure what to do with it.
Yeah. So we had a question from Eldon ahead of time, and Eldon says, "Can Microsoft Copilot be trusted and not leak IP back to Microsoft?" Great question, by the
Yeah.
way. Matt?
Yeah, so that's kind of a tough one. We looked into that, and so with Microsoft's Copilot, I mean, there's two general ways that you can use that software. You can have the enterprise license version, which hooks into your SharePoint, which hooks into your Outlook, which looks at all the things that you have access to inside of Microsoft's system, or you can do kind of like the ChatGPT route with it and just use the public one. As far as the public one goes, pretty much anything you dump in there goes straight back to Microsoft and becomes part of their training data. So be really, really careful about that. The same as with ChatGPT or something you'd use with Gemini or something like that.
Well, sometimes Copilot pulls data from places you don't expect. You
Yeah,
think it's looking at public sources, and it's actually looking at files in your tenant, and you might
yeah.
accidentally leak data that way if you're not proofreading things carefully.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
it's kind of eye-opening when you pop in there. And just remember, I mean, when you get an enterprise version of Copilot, Microsoft states all that stays within your tenant. They say it does not go into their training data, but remember that it has access to everything you have access to. So if you're not using data sensitivity labels, if you're not segmenting your access, then it's going to be able to integrate that into your own tenant. And as Sherry mentioned, I mean, it looks everywhere for information. When we ask it a question, and we've been testing this, I mean, it will look into public news sources if we're talking about things like data breaches,
or
but
your HR
or
folder,
yeah, or it
unless
will
you
look into
said
like
otherwise.
previous presentations or something like that, which is again just kind of eye opening.
Yeah, it is. I'm just waiting for the oopsies to start happening. It'll
It,
take a
it
while
will.
before you start seeing leaks and breaches and things like that, but it's going to happen. We had another class question from Lee. Are there any big differences in focus areas based on company size or industry? And I loved this
Yeah,
question. We'll actually address this throughout our session today. But when it comes to AI, of course, the answer is yes. And BYOD is a great example where AI and BYOD taken together have some big implications, and that will vary based on industry. Are you in healthcare? Are people dealing with health
yeah.
information? Hopefully not on people's phones, but anybody who's worked for a hospital knows that health information gets scattered in all kinds of places that you don't want it to. So I would look at your infrastructure, start with that inventory. If you do anything in January, let's get a deadline of the end of January. Make an inventory of all the places where you think AI risks might intersect your organization. And again, think about all those little places where maybe you're not formally adopting it, but it's probably there. Anything else you want to add about AI?
No, I mean, I think it's a great tool. I think it's something that is inevitably going to integrate itself into everything that we do, as far as our work goes. But we just need to be careful. I mean, it's an imperfect technology, so AI can hallucinate. It can flat out lie to you.
Unlike the rest of our perfect technology.
Exactly.
Thank you so much, everyone. Again, this is Sherri Davidoff, CEO of LMG Security.
And I'm Matt Durrin, Director of Training and Research for LMG Security. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out at any time. We would love to hear from you. You can reach us at info@lmgsecurity.com, find us on LinkedIn, or follow us on Twitter. Thanks again for joining, and we'll see you next time.